going to press record. The first thing that we're going to do, guys, is talk about how to send a newsletter campaign, right? An email with a template to a list of contacts and include a video inside of it. So I'm going to actually go provide the full instruction on this thing, so that way there aren't any missing pieces in case other people want to do this. The very first thing I recommend for sending your bulk emails, your semi-bulk, right, of 100, 1,000 contacts, whatever it is you want to connect your email provider to Dubb. So whether you're an Outlook user, a Gmail user, or you have other email sending potentials like a SendGrid account, or what else is there? There's dozens of email service providers, right? Yahoo, Apple Mail, whatever. You can connect any of those emails directly to Dubb, just like this. So you're going to either use your Gmail, your Outlook, these other options, or any option is available through SMTP. And if you're not sure what these numbers are, like let's say if you're using Yahoo, I can just type in Yahoo SMTP credentials is what that's called. And then that's going to show you, oh, your server name, your password, your port number, and that's all those same things here. So if you have an email currently, Gmail, Outlook, or something else, you connect that email directly to Dubb. That's step number one. Now, just be aware, if you first go to connect a Gmail or an Outlook, if it's a free Gmail, like if it ends with @gmail.com, it's not going to be able to send more than 100 per day. If it's a paid email, like this one here, it's @dubb.email or something. Those, if it's a Gmail or Outlook, those can typically be used to send up to 300 per day. So if you're on a paid Gmail or a paid Outlook, you can send up to 300 per day. You just have to talk to our team to allow you to increase that limit. We have it first set at 100 so that you don't get yourself in trouble on accident. If you have a free Gmail, you try to send 1,000 emails, Gmail is going to say, hey, that's too many emails. Not us, but Gmail will slap you on the wrist or whatever. So that's why we put this limit there intrinsically. But if you can come just talk to our team, the little green bubble there, and say, hey, I need to increase my sending limit. And whatever tool you have, if it's SendGrid or something, you can send 10,000 or something a day. It's 100,000 a day, whatever. But if you're just on a Gmail or Outlook, be aware it's 300 a day limit. However, there is a function when we're going to go to send a campaign. And let's say if I have 100 or 300 a day, it will actually send 100 today or 300 today, whatever your limit is. And then 24 hours later, it's going to send another 100 or 300 or whatever your limit is. So it can continue to send over a number of days, up to 3 days. So if you have 100, you could send up to 400 total. If you have 300, you could send like 1,200 total. So that's the very first thing. Be aware of the email sending limits and also how to connect. Actually, one other thing I should definitely include here today, guys, is where are these people coming from? If it's a completely cold email, like if you're purchasing a list, or in this case, it was an advertisement, so they're sort of opted in. What I would use is I always recommend, you guys see here, we have different emails connected, right? This is dubb.com. That's our main email, like what we do all our communications, like regular communications through. But if we're doing marketing stuff, like sending emails to cold emails who don't know us yet, we use a different email address. And the reason why is because when you're sending emails to cold contacts, there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to mark you as spam, or it's going to go to promotions, or they mark it as junk or something. And that can potentially affect the reputation of our primary domain. So we never get a list of people or get cold emails and stuff and then send cold emails from dubb.com. We use another email like dubb.email or dbmail or Dubb Video. We use one of these other tools, one of these other domains to send out all of our cold emails so that our main domain is never at any reputation risk. Now, this is more specific, guys, for cold email. Like if you're purchasing lists or you're getting lists of people from people that you don't know. But if you're running like your own advertisement and you're saying, hey, I can help you, and then people fill out a form to get help from you, that's kind of like an opt-in. It's closer to an opt-in than like purchasing a list would be. So just be aware of where your contacts are coming from. If they have no idea who you are or that you're about to reach out to them, you'll certainly want to get a second domain and use that for sending to your cold contacts. And then here you can set the reply to address to come to your actual address. So that way you're sending from a safe email that produces no risk to you, and all the replies come directly to you to start a conversation with your main email. So that way you can have a conversation once they've opted in or responded to the marketing email.
You
So
go over that again one more time, Darius. I was typing when you were trying to teach, and that never works. So,
No, it's
so
all good, Mark. The whole thing's recorded. Just send me an email and I'll get this recording over to you. You could come rewatch it at your own speed and rewind it and all that good stuff. So just shoot me an email, Mark. I know we already have a little thread going, and say I'd like today's recording. Anyone that would also like today's recording, please email me, Darius@dubb.com, and I'll get this recording over to you. So that's the first piece, guys. Connecting your email to Dubb and making sure you're aware of the limits and the behaviors if you're doing a lot of cold email. That's part number one. The second thing you're going to want to do is add your contacts to Dubb. So here in the CRM, in contacts, we can import a list of people at one time. You can add one person at a time, which I don't recommend. That's a little slow. Importing your list is recommended. And when you import, there's something called a tag. A tag is kind of like a label or a folder, right? So that you can identify who this group of people is, or who these people are, with a specific tag. And so here you're going to see they have several different tags so that I can add them wherever I need to put them, or isolate them for a specific opportunity. Now you can also do some bulk selection like this, and then add tags this way as well. So you can add tags to contacts that are already in the system, or you can import and add the tag at that time. So this is definitely what I recommend doing, is importing your contacts in a list with tags to keep them identified as groups. So that's part one and part two. Attach your email, be aware of limits and behaviors, upload your contacts in a list with a tag. Now, the next thing we were talking about is the template itself. I will tell you guys, I actually don't recommend sending these types of templates out all the time. If you're doing like a newsletter, a market update where you're trying to touch your database, your entire sphere perhaps, or a group of people, and if your intention is to elicit responses, to drive clicks, to start conversations, then I actually don't recommend templates like this, because these templates are sent by a bunch of big box companies, right? Large, like Home Depot and stuff. They send out large templates like this, and they're often sent from emails that say, do not reply. So our audience, our consumers and people are being trained to sort of ignore these longer type of templates because they're getting them from a bunch of other big companies with do not replies. The other part of it is they're very impersonal. It does not look like I, Darius, am trying to start a conversation with you, John, on the other end. It looks like I'm just sharing information with hundreds or thousands of people at once. Like, hey, I'm this person or business. Here's some stuff going on. Sorry, I got to mute somebody, Jay. I think it's you. There's a little phone call or something in the background. Anyway, so these types of templates, I don't recommend as often as people are using them now. Some people are doing like every single email, every single bulk email they do, any time they're sending to a group, they're sending with these larger templates. As I mentioned, the problem is it's very impersonal. It doesn't look like I am writing you a message because I'm respecting your time and expecting, trying to elicit a personal conversation or relationship. It looks very, spray and pray, or just like, here's some information, figure it out. So one, it looks impersonal. Two, often sent from do not replies from big box, so people are being trained to not respond. And then three, it's actually less deliverable. The more HTML, the more images and links and text and stuff that's inside of the email body, the more likely it is to go to promotions and spam and different filters marketing. So the heavier, sorry, I got to mute you too as well. The heavier the contents of the email, the more likely it is to go into a separate folder other than where you want it to go. You want it to go right into their inbox. So with all that being said, if you still want to use a template, absolutely, you still can. I just recommend doing a split test. So like this time you're going to do a template, and then the next time you're going to make it look like you just wrote an email yourself. Like you're going to make it look like it was an email you wrote specifically just for them. So it would look something like this, like, hey, first name, right? You're going to use the token inside of Dubb. I made a video for you about, it's going to look something more like this. Like you typed an email just for them because they're special and they're worth your time and they deserve your individual attention. At least that's the impression that we want to make, right? We want them to feel that way. You don't want them to feel like they're just one in a sea of 1,000, 10,000 people that don't deserve any sort of personal attention. You want them to feel special. So this is how you're going to add. I'm going to cover this way first, the template one, and then I'm going to show this the simple one that I recommend more often. So here is a template. I can select this thing, I can install it, and then once it's installed, I can make an edit to it. And specifically, when you want to add a video to this template, this is the way that it's going to work. You just drag a text block. A little counterintuitive, I know, but don't worry. You drag a text block into the place where you want the video to appear. And then here is your merge tag where you're going to put the video placeholder. I recommend deleting the other text that's there. You don't need it. And then I recommend centering the video placeholder so that it's right in the middle. Now I'm going to save it. And now when I go to send an email, so you can see you're not actually putting a video itself into the template. You're putting a placeholder because this template can be reused and recycled and have different videos in it all the time. So that's all that you're doing is you're putting the video placeholder inside of the template and then centering it wherever you want the video to appear. Now, once that video placeholder is there, let's go back to campaigns. So in part one, we connected the email. In part two, we connected the contacts. Then in part three, we constructed this template. This one is pretty easy to use, by the way. It's just a drag and drop builder, but we recommend starting with a template that's close to what you want. And then you can just change less of these links and items and stuff. Very intuitive how to change it, right? Just click where you need to change, add links, change colors over here, etc. So we've connected the email, we've connected the contacts, we added the video to the template, and now we're ready to create a campaign. So this is going to be just called example. This is where you're going to choose one of your senders. So if you have a Gmail, an Outlook, or anything else you want to connect to Dubb, there's a from name. So this is going to actually be in the from name, what it, coming from you. If they recognize your company better than your name, take that into consideration. What is going to make a better human connection? Often, if it's a business name, that's not as interesting as a person, right? People want people. They connect to humans, not a logo. So that's why we're talking about creating more personal emails and stuff. But anyway, subject line, don't just leave this as it is, right? Definitely write your subject line. We put something there so it's not blank, but you'll certainly want them to know that there's a video that you made for them and whatever the topic of this email is. Then you select the video just like that. Little blue frame is around it. I recommend leaving this on. This is a one-click unsubscribe option so that they're less likely to mark your email as junk or spam because they can unsubscribe easier. Now, here's the email itself. If you selected a template, all you do is pick the template. And then there's the video that I selected in the first step. And that's where the placeholder went. So that is what it looks like to select a template. However, I do not recommend using a template every time. As I mentioned, I recommend a human-looking email more often than not. So I'm going to delete that one because I don't want to use the template. And I'm going to restart. So this is example 2. So that's how you would do the email template one, right? This time I'm not going to use a template, and I'm going to do the other piece that I advised, which is a human-looking email. Meaning it doesn't look like a marketing department put it together. It doesn't look like somebody spent so much time putting this template together. It looks like I personally wrote you an email. So I'm going to say, hey, first name. Hey, John, I was doing some research on the market and I made a video I thought you would find interesting being in the X market, right? I did research on your local housing market and I did a video specific to it and I thought you might find it interesting. That sounds like I'm your realtor. I care about you. And I've done research on your market so you can feel more informed, right? This is far more personal than the template that looks like it was sent to everybody and doesn't, have whatever there. I mean, it could be great information, but they're going to glance and ignore most of the time because of what they're being trained to do. Unless you have really trained your guys to look at those templates very well and your audience is trained. But if it's somebody new, they're going to look at the templates like it was very generic. So here is a human-looking email. Now, of course, everything's written by humans or AI at this point, right? AI is an option. But when I say human, meaning it looks like I took the time to type this email and up myself. It looks like I personally maybe sent this to you. versus the template definitely does not look like I sent that just to you. It definitely looks like I've sent that to a lot of other people. So regardless of whether you're using a template or the human looking email, there's one more step, two more actually, which is to add the list. So you can either add one email at a time here, or I can just include the list, right? And now everybody in my list is right there, recipient count. I can also exclude people. So like I can include buyers and exclude sellers, or I can include clients and exclude leads, or whatever tags that you guys have in that step number 2, importing contacts. So now we have the list. The last step, guys, is to send this now or schedule it for a date in the future, where you can just click here, choose the date, choose the time, and then now that is going to go out based on your time zone, which you can change as well. So this is how you will do from 0 to 100, create your campaigns. Now, one thing I definitely recommend, if anytime you're going to send a bulk email, send a test. Send a test to yourself first. Do be aware if you're sending an email from yourself to yourself, but it's not exactly your email, it's likely going to show like phishing or something like warning, this is email scary. Because like if I'm using, earlier I showed you guys 2 different email connections. One was dubb.com, another one was dubb.email. If I send an email to myself from dubb.email, Google and stuff is going to say, hey, this email looks scary because you're dubb.com. This is dubb.email. It looks like somebody's trying to spoof you. But don't be scared, because that's only occurring because it looks like you are trying to email yourself. Anybody else that's not dubb.something won't see that, or anyone else that's not in your business or related to your business won't see that message. But I do always recommend sending the test to yourself, so that way you can see how the email looks. Did you make a mistake? Is the subject body everything right? Especially if you're about to send an email to hundreds or thousands of people. So good, guys, this is the full instruction for sending a campaign. I've also talked a little bit about the CRM, and then there's an eventuality where you're going to create workflows, automations that are a series of emails that go out automatically. So instead of just one email one time, it's a whole series of emails or activities that can happen. And so this is an eventuality I think every business should have if you're trying to grow, right? More actions, less work is what automation does for you.